Get ready for the best in championship monster truck and dragster tractor pulling action from the U.S. Hot Rod Association. Taurus, the bullish monster machine with an eye on the top spot. Barefoot, the holder of the belt whose battlefield savvy keeps all contenders at bay. Two heavyweights on a collision course. In just a moment, the bell. Hi, everybody. I'm Brett Gubner here at the Centrum in Worcester, Massachusetts, where the biggest battle of monsters since King Kong took on Godzilla is about to take place. The defending monster truck world champion, Fred Schaefer's Barefoot, is about to battle the man who finished #2 in the world last year, Jack Willman in Taurus, heading an all-star field of killers.
Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Chapman at the Capitol Center in Landover, Maryland. We're inside. You're going to see some multi-engine tractors that are high-powered and ready to roar.
Paul Norman hits the war wagon against John Powell and his multi-engine power pulling machine for the U.S. Hot Rod Association Championships. Plus, Vorian, the colossal alien being, displays its awesome intergalactic power. Welcome to Tuff Trax. One of the most incredible lineups of monster machines ever. Bigfoot, Barefoot, Gravedigger, Taurus, First Blood. Even world champion Fred Schaefer can't believe the lineup here in Worcester.
This is one of the toughest races here that I've ever seen. This amount of fast trucks here, like you said, Bigfoot, Gravedigger, Taurus, and some of the other ones here are all real fast trucks. We've got a short track here. I think this is really going to be a close race. The video on the line is going to be real important here because of all these fast trucks. It's going to be within inches, feet or inches, no doubt.
When Fred Schaefer talks about the video on the line, he's talking about our instant replay cameras determining the winner in what he thinks may be the closest race of the season. We now move to qualifying with 8 available positions. Against the clock, each driver on solo runs. Started off with Rob Fuchs, the Woodstock, Illinois racer who was voted 1989 Rookie of the Year in the First Blood Ford. Incredible ride for Fuchs in the First Blood machine. Sideways, taking down poles, bouncing all over the place. It'll give you an indication of the kind of action you can expect during side-by-side eliminations, that's for sure. A giant bouncing wheel stand at the end of the course. The elapsed time for Rob Fuchs, 2.78 seconds. And that will set the pace as we continue qualifying. Ken Deppy in the whiskey business. Rear-engine Chevrolet out of Jefferson City, Missouri is the next one on the line. He's got to beat 2.78 seconds to try and get the #1 qualifying position. Lining up to the starting line as the ground crew makes sure the monster machine is positioned perfectly on the starting grid. Waiting for the green light. Deppy also bouncing all over the place. An extremely rough course with some surprises in store for any driver near the finish line. Deppy left the starting line itself beautifully up over the first dirt mogul, but hitting the cars and bouncing the front end literally 15 feet in the air, he lands with an elapsed time of 2.83 seconds, only 0.05 of a second behind First Blood. The next machine up will be Mike Wine and the Jersey Outlaw. Deppy will take the whiskey business Chevrolet back to the pit area, knowing full well that he is running right with the current qualifying leader. In the meantime, Mike Wine and the Jersey Outlaw Ford pulls to the starting grid. The Superwing-sponsored machine has to go better than 2.78 seconds to try and out-qualify the Ford currently on the pole, Rob Fuchs in First Blood. As you can see in the far lane, running right after the silver and gray Ford product, will be probably one of the most popular machines in the history of monster truck. A great starting line launch, but again, thrown to the left, literally at the finish line by the crush cars themselves. Wine had a picture-perfect starting line launch, but it was the cars that threw him off course at the end. The elapsed time, though, 2.75 seconds, gives him the pole. And believe it or not, the machine up next has to rate as Mike Wine's biggest rival.
We'll argue and fight. I mean, we'll scratch each other's eyes out, and I hate Dennis Anderson to death when we're racing.
Well, as far as Mike Wine goes, for one thing, he's kind of got a big mouth when we get ready to race. He's always dogging my truck, but a lot of times he puts his foot in his mouth because he knows better. He knows the Gravedigger can put him down. But really, we're enemies. When we pull to the line, it's war. You know, there's no doubt. There's no love lost there.
Strong words from a strong driver. And believe me when I tell you that this may well be the most popular monster truck in the history of the category. Dennis Anderson out of Kill Devil Hills, North Carolina, in the 1950 Chevy sedan delivery known as the Gravedigger. Obviously, Anderson's primary objective is to at least out-qualify Mike Wine in the Jersey Outlaw. More importantly, qualify number one for the entire field. The rear-engine supercharged Chevy ready to leave the line. He's got to run quicker than 2.75 seconds. A horrific sideways landing for Anderson, but the crowd seems to believe that may well be good enough for number one qualifier. A picture-perfect launch, carrying the front wheels right to the crush cars. Then that rough, bouncing landing, but the elapsed time, 2.28 seconds. Number one by nearly a half a second for Dennis Anderson, and the crowd loves it. So with qualifying only half complete, here's how it stands. Dennis Anderson, number one at 2.28 seconds. The number two qualifier at 2.75. Mike Wine in the Jersey Outlaw. First Blood and Rob Fuchs third, and Whiskey Business fourth. But even world champ Fred Schaefer says the best is yet to come.
Is there one driver in particular that you will really give 110% for?
Well, yeah, that would be Bigfoot and Taurus. Those are the guys. Of course, Gravedigger's right in there too. So really, you can't. You got to be right on the light and with all three of those guys because there's no room for error there.
When we return, Gravedigger's work is far from over, as the best are yet to come. Bigfoot, the incredible blue Ford, Taurus, and world champion Barefoot, plus Vorian. Stay with us. We're back in Worcester, Massachusetts, as we continue qualifying for what may well be the most incredible battle of monster trucks ever. Pulling to the starting line, the winningest machine in the sport's history. The incredible Bigfoot Ford, trying to better the current number one qualifying spot of 2.28 seconds, held by the incredible Gravedigger. The original professional monster truck lines up. A nosedive at the finish line and sliding to a halt, but that run looked at least as good as the 2.28 second run by the Gravedigger. Look at this takeoff, Cape Canaveral quality, and then a nosedive at the finish. The elapsed time, 2.25 seconds. By 0.03 of a second, Bigfoot is now number one. But pulling to the line is the defending Camel Monster Truck World Champion, the U.S. Hot Rod Association's ultimate hitter, Fred Schaefer, and the supercharged Chevrolet known as Barefoot. As Schaefer had already pointed out, the biggest rivalry he faces is between the big blue Ford and the purple Chevrolet known as Taurus. He wants number one worse than anything. An incredible airborne launch, a rough landing that actually does some front-end body damage, but the crowd is astounded. Take a look at this launch. The front end, 20 feet in the air. Watch the landing as the right front tire comes up into the bodywork. But the elapsed time, 1.98 seconds. Number one for the defending world champion. The final truck to try and qualify for this open field will be the machine that finished number two in the World Championship points race last season to Barefoot. Jack Willman, also out of Granite City, Illinois, lines up the incredible supercharged Chevy-powered Taurus. The mark to beat now 1.98 seconds. Another nosedive at the finish line and a rather skaty start. But indeed, Jack Wilbin's run may not have been good enough to take over the #1 spot. You can see him get knocked to the right-hand side in the air. That was the same problem experienced by other drivers in that lane. The elapsed time, 2.32 seconds for Torres, will put him fourth. As you see in final qualifying, the #1 spot goes to Barefoot, #2 to Bigfoot, #3 to Dennis Anderson's Gravedigger, 5th to the Jersey Outlaw, 6th to First Blood, and Whiskey Business rounds out the top 7 here in Worcester, Massachusetts. But don't go away. You want to talk action? How about ground-pounding 10,000 horsepower dragster pulling tractors coming up with Lorian? Stay with us. We're at the Capitol Center in Landover, Maryland, getting ready for U.S. Auburn Association Championship tractor pulling action. Chris Chapman is standing by with an up-close look at dragster tractor racing.
Multi-engine tractors are used in modified tractor pulling for tremendous horsepower. This is Paul Norman's War Wagon, which features a stacked 3-engine system. We're talking power. Strapping 2 airplane engines to the front of a tractor and using them to pull down the track can be a pretty dangerous situation. But Rick Rockefeller, the owner of the Policy Peddler, really doesn't worry too much about the potential danger. He owns his own insurance company. Rick, tell me why you're using 2 airplane engines on a tractor pull.
Well, to get the power that we need to compete with the automotive engines, with 4 to 6 motors for the automotive engine, it takes 2 Allison motors to compete with them.
What goes through your mind as you sit up there and you know that you're sitting there with 2 airplane motors and all these other guys have really normal motors on the front of theirs when you're getting ready to go out to do your pull?
Well, our motors are a whole lot more temperamental, so you just hope everything's right with the motor and the fuel systems and to compete with them. The motors are built in 1930s and 40s.
Well, Richard Rockefeller sits on the starting line checking everything from oil pressure gauges to temperature gauges to turbocharger boost gauges as he gets ready to make the first pull. 50,000 pounds of metal in tow for the twin Allison V12 aircraft engine powered machine, the Policy Peddler. The handbrake and hand throttle being guided forward. And now 6,000 horsepower is unleashed. Finally pulling back on the throttle to shut it down as the ground crew goes out for the first measurement of this competition. Now, as the first man out, Rockefeller has the option of accepting or declining this first pull, but it looks like he has given the signal that he will accept the first number. As the 50,000-pound weight transfer machine pulls back, the distance is read at 106 feet, 2 inches. 106 feet, 2 inches, now the mark to beat. From twin Allison aircraft engines, we go to twin supercharged 500 cubic inch Chevrolet rat motors. Tally Davis at the machine called Running Bear backs up to the weight transfer machine. A myriad of different power plants in contention here at the U.S. Auburn Association event in Landover, Maryland. Everything from the Allison aircraft engines that we saw earlier to twin, triple, and quadruple automotive V8 engines. It should be an all-out war. The connecting chain now taut. Tally Davis waits for the flagman to throw the green. It's up. Here's the Running Bear. And Davis will dig in well short of his goal. The biggest problem on that run came when the front end got airborne, and as should be quite obvious, you can't steer a machine when the front wheels are 3 feet in the air. Davis had to get out of the throttle to land the front end to keep steering the machine to keep it from going out of bounds, and that cost him the precious power that he needed. Robert Hutton's Clodhopper is up next, another tractor utilizing multiple Chevrolet engines. A pair of 540 cubic inch, fuel-injected, supercharged, methanol-burning Chevy rat motors for the Maryland machine. Hutton backs up to the weight transfer sled itself, where the sled operator awaits, ready to plug in the kill switch. should the tractor become disconnected from the sled or the tow chain itself break. There's no chance of a stuck throttle on a runaway 4,000 horsepower machine indoors, as that plug will be pulled out of the back of the tractor, shutting down all electrical circuits, including the engines, before anything can happen. The mark to beat, 117 feet even. 4,000 Chevrolet horsepower ready. Hutton pumps the brakes and now pressures the throttle. And the quad hopper takes that 50,000-pound mountain of metal literally down to almost the exact same mark where our leader put the pole. The distance for Robert Hutton's clodhopper, 119 feet 6 inches. He takes over the lead here at the Capitol Center. We've got more ground-pounding pullers coming up, including the jet-powered variety, and the showdown between the nation's toughest monster trucks, including last year's #2 driver, Jack Wilman in Taurus, and the defending world champ, Fred Schaefer in the incredible Barefoot. Stay with us. We're back at the Capitol Center in Landover, Maryland, as we continue in competition with one of the most diversified groups of pullers ever assembled. Here's a great case in point. The Groundhog of Bob Kinzer is not utilizing a pair of aircraft engines or supercharged V8s. As the ground crew connects the kill switch, they're connecting it to a tractor equipped with 3 440 cubic inch Chrysler wedge engines with carburetors and gasoline. It's a trade-off for high RPM as opposed to the low-end torque of the supercharged entries. A lot of smoke out of the back of the front engine, and obviously a serious drop in power right after that. A tough break for Kinzer. The official measurement coming up, but the Chrysler machine is apparently mortally wounded. The distance, 108 feet, 1 inch. The Groundhog machine will head for the pit area. In direct contrast to 3 carbureted Chrysler engines, how about a 4,000 horsepower Westinghouse jet aircraft engine in a tractor? This is the machine called One to Go of longtime Maryland campaigner Gary Mills. You're looking at a helicopter turbine engine, driving power to the rear wheels, 4,000 horsepower out of one solitary power plant. Hooked and ready. He pulls the chain taut between the sled and the tractor and now lights the afterburner, literally igniting the air here at the Capitol Center. 22,000 RPM off the starting line. But it should be obvious that Mills has serious problems. Immediately you can see the disappointment on his face as he is forced to shut the engine down as the ground crew disconnects the tractor from the sled. Apparently not quite enough power, or at least not enough RPMs off the starting line for Mills. The distance only 68 feet even. Mills still trying to figure out what the problem was as he heads for the pit area. But meanwhile, the ground begins to shake as we once again find evidence of supercharged power here at the Capitol Center. Again, a pair of supercharged Chevrolet rat motors firing up. Bill Jones and the attitude adjuster. Again, 1,000 cubic inches of Chevy V16, 4,000 horsepower on tap. Most of the drivers who have already made their first pull have assembled up near the starting line to watch each of the rest of the competitors try to knock down the current leader, Robert Hutton's clodhopper, which pulled the 50,000-pound weight a distance of 119 feet 6 inches. That's the mark to beat right now for Philip Jones, attitude adjuster, as it heads back to the starting grid. The ground crew once again connecting the safety switch that will shut down the engine in the event that this huge chain being connected right now to the back of the attitude adjuster should break or come unhooked. Now, Jones is signaled to pull that chain taut, revving the engine as you can see. up to about 3,500 RPM on the tachometer. Unbelievable turn of events for Phillip Jones. First, literally an indoor fireworks show, then the sound of a supercharged big block Chevy hitting high C as the front engine's clutch assembly disintegrates inside the safety bell housing. You could see the sparks sailing out from underneath the tractor as the clutch began to come apart. Then when the clutch finally totally disintegrated, the engine went to about 12,000 RPM, and Jones is going to need a hook to get out of this one. Here's this week's Crunch of the Week. Don Van Loo's New Jersey-based monster truck called Bad Medicine took one of the wildest rides of the season recently at a U.S. Hobbit Association event in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Van Loo's foot slipped off the brake, hit the gas, and sent him into the retaining wall at full throttle. One of the wildest rides ever. And by the way, there were no injuries. That's this week's Crunch of the Week. Back in Worcester, Massachusetts, after one of the most thrilling of qualifying dashes in monster truck competition, we're ready for the first round of side-by-side eliminations. And the very first run up will apparently be a solo effort for the #1 qualifier, world champ Fred Schaefer at Barefoot, as John Breen's Missouri-based Micro Machine Chevrolet will apparently be unable to make the call for the first round due to engine damage. Schaefer will use this to his advantage. As a matter of fact, it'll be interesting to see just how hard he pushes it on a run where he could, if he so desired, save the parts for the semifinal round. And Schaefer uses the first half of the run to determine how well the starting line is hooking up, leaving the line at full throttle, then coasting through to save everything for the semifinals. The world champ will go to round number 2, and he will take on the winner of this matchup. Mike Wine and the Jersey Outlaw takes on the one, the only Bigfoot Ford in a showdown of Fomoco products, with the winner to take on the world champ in the next round. The Big Blue Ford inches forward to the starting line as the New Jersey-based Super Winch Ford waits patiently in the other lane. Now Wine gets the signal to move up to stage. Side by side, 10,000 pound, 1,400 horsepower U.S. Hobbit Association monster trucks. Waiting for the green light. They leave the line together, but look at Jim Kramer drive away in the Bigfoot Ford. Certainly Mike Wine has to be credited with starting line reactions as good or better than Jim Kramer's. But on the replay, you can see where Kramer made the power. Right up over the crush cars, sailing across the finish line. It will be Barefoot versus Bigfoot in the semi-final round. In the meantime, the Whiskey Business Chevrolet rear engine machine of Ken Deppy lines up against the truck that finished number 2 in the U.S. Hobbit Association World Championship points race in 1990. Jack Wellman out of Granite City, Illinois, in the incredible Taurus moves in. The number 4 and 7 qualifiers, and number 4 flat runs all over number 7. Taurus handles the Whiskey Business Chevrolet easily, and you can see the disappointment on Ken Deppy's face. In fact, he is flat upset. For the second straight run, though, Jack Wellman had a completely sideways effort in the left-hand lane. It'll be interesting to see if he remains on that side of the course. Still, he has time for a wave to the fans as he heads back for the pits. And now, the final battle in round number 1 of monster truck action. Ford and Chevy, the working class hero, Rob Fusion, the First Blood Ford, takes on the insanely popular Green Machine, Dennis Anderson's awesome Gravedigger 1950 Chevrolet. Inching forward, the rear engine Chevy that qualified in the number 3 spot knows that the First Blood Ford driver will try to get the whole shot. He needs a jump off the starting line to remain competitive. They leave the line, and it's Anderson by nearly a full truck length. The Gravedigger Chevrolet beats the bright red Ford and actually appeared to get the whole shot that Rob Fuchs was hoping so hard to get. The crowd loves every minute of it. On the replay, you can see sideways in the air, and certainly one of the roughest landings we've seen so far, but just another victory for Dennis Anderson's amazingly popular machine. It is truly incredible that this young driver in 5 years could become literally as popular as the original monster truck itself, Bigfoot. But the crowd loves the big green Chevrolet. So in the semifinal round, it will be Barefoot versus Bigfoot and Taurus versus Gravedigger. 4 of the toughest monster machines in the world ready to do battle here in Worcester, Massachusetts. Keep in mind, along with monster truck action, we've still got championship ground-pounding tractor pullers and Borean coming up. Stay with us. It appears as a flame-throwing, 6,000 horsepower, 300 mile per hour jet-powered dragster. But it is not what it seems. Only the children know that by chanting this machine's name, they can turn it from a jet-powered dragster to the mighty Borean. Borean! 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 Keep it up! Borean! 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 Borean!
Hail, race fan. I am Borean. Do I have your attention? Do I? I will tell you how to unleash the energy that is in each and every one of you and make it happen. Feel the power within yourself and listen to Borean. Shoot for your dreams and don't let anything stand in your way. I will show you the force of determination. There you see before you a container of negative energy, labeled with negative thoughts. See how I deal with the forces of failure. Failure, always the perfect victim. I must leave you now, but I will return through the coming cycles of time. Until then, boys and girls, the power of Borean is now yours.
Back in Worcester, Massachusetts for the semifinal round of monster truck action. Barefoot versus Bigfoot and Taurus versus Gravedigger, with the big blue machines coming out first. The original monster truck created by Bob Chandler in 1974 was Bigfoot, but very shortly after, Fred Schaefer created the Chevrolet equivalent and named it Barefoot after, believe it or not, 2 real live pet black bears that Fred Schaefer has, named Sugar and Spice. The Bigfoot Ford pulls out onto the floor to take on one of his absolute most arch rivals. The trucks are staged, waiting for the green light. And Bigfoot leaves the starting line well before the green light ever was illuminated, and that is an automatic disqualification. What an incredible upset. as the big blue Ford left, as I said, well before the green. Look at the replay. There the machine leaves the line. It's literally all the way up the crush car ramp as the green light comes on. Fred Schaefer sits patiently at the starting line saying, what in the world happened? But he will be given the official win, and a dejected Jim Kramer heads back to the pits. Meanwhile, Fred Schaefer will take the official run into the final round, his second easy run of this event. And the world champ has got to be elated with the turn of events in the opposite lanes. First, his opponent breaks, then Bigfoot leaves the starting line with a big red light glowing. As Schaefer gets ready for the championship dash, he knows he will have to take on the winner of the next match. And it will be, again, another arch rival of the Barefoot clan. This time around, the Taurus Chevrolet of Jack Wellman, based out of the same hometown as the Barefoot team, Granite City, Illinois. He will be up against Kill Devil Hills, North Carolina's own Dennis Anderson, and the machine that literally needs no introduction, the incredible Gravedigger Chevrolet. The number 4 and 3 qualifiers squaring off to take a shot at number 1. Staged and ready, waiting for the countdown. No red lights this time. And in the closest race of the event, we'll have to see the replay of that one before we can even think about calling a winner. Here is the replay of the starting line launch. They hit the cars. The win goes to Taurus by a matter of inches. Look at Anderson carrying the right front wheel almost all the way from the starting line to the finish line, while Jack Wellman had his first decent run in the right-hand lane. Remember, every run he had had before that was completely sideways down to the finish line. Here it is again. Nearly impossible to tell, but the purple Chevrolet goes to the final round in the ultimate showdown with Fred Schaefer's Barefoot. An amazing battle, literally the top 4 monster trucks in the U.S. Harvard Association World Championship Trail involved in combat in that one solitary round. But now it comes down to the 2 machines that fought it out for the World Championship last year in a rematch of that grudge. So while Jack Wellman has had a rough road all the way to the final round, Fred Schaefer's first real race will be coming up in that trophy dash. Here's this week's Power Drive. At the recent U.S. Harvard Association Super Bowl of Motorsports in Tampa, Florida, 62-year-old motorsports legend Art Arfons pulled off a rare pulling trick. A full pull in a pull-off round. At nearly double the original starting weight, the Green Monster twin-jet engine tractor pulled the weight out the back door for the second time to the delight of a capacity crowd. That's this week's Power Drive. I think if he wants... We're back in Landover, Maryland, as we continue unlimited dragster tractor competition against a 50,000-pound weight sled. And if it's brute horsepower you want, it's brute horsepower we've got. How about not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 500 cubic inch supercharged fuel-injected aluminum Chrysler Hemi engines on one awesome tractor. This is the awesome behemoth with 10,000 horsepower of John Powell. The crowd cannot believe it. Their ears are still ringing.
Look out, we got the pedals coming down.
In the sport of pulling, if a driver takes the specified weight past the predetermined finish line, in this case 175 feet, it's considered a full pull and puts a driver number 1. In fact, the only way a driver can be threatened after a full pull is if another driver makes a full pull, forcing another round of competition. Here's the slow motion replay of perfect traction, 10,000 horsepower, chugging away, pulling 50,000 pounds out the back door, even with the weight box at the top of the sled. They literally had to throw the red flag to tell Powell to get out of the throttle. More than enough for the field here at Landover, Maryland. That will bring up the incredible war wagon of Paul Norman. 3 572 cubic inch Arius Hemi Chevy engines, supercharged and fuel injected on methanol. Another machine capable of producing literally 7,500 horsepower. But now the pressure is on Norman in a big, big way. Like we said, when a driver ahead of you makes a full pull, the only way you can threaten him is to take that weight out the back door yourself, forcing a pull-off round of competition. So Norman must pull 50,000 pounds, 175 feet, or the win automatically goes to John Powell. The ground crew making the safety connections. Certainly you have to wonder about the thoughts going through Paul Norman's head. He knows he's got to reach that finish line or he's never going to have a chance at victory. Now, full throttle. Norman in the war wagon stumbles at mid-range, and no way. Even Norman himself shakes his head. He knows he can't do it. The win goes to the machine being towed back to the pits right behind him. John Powell and the Powell pulling 4-engine Chrysler Hemi takes the overall victory. Looking at the replay on Norman's war wagon, you could see that he was very, very conservative, not getting into full throttle until around 100 feet. And then the machine started bucking. He was forced to get in and out of the throttle. That cost him everything. A tough break for a driver who was really a pre-race favorite going into this pulling event, but you can compare his pull to this incredible display of brute torque and horsepower by John Powell's awesome quad-motored Hemi. In fact, the actual winning distance was, believe it or not, no less than 54 feet. Powell takes the win with Paul Norman second at 121 feet, Robert Hutton's Clodhopper at 119, Tally Davis at 117, and Bob Kinzer at 108 round out the top 5. You know, monster truck racing is a serious business. Sprinting 5-ton, 11-foot-tall trucks over wreckage can cause problems for the drivers. To ensure optimum safety in the sport, special precautions have become necessary.
Hi, I'm Ray Prokowski, driver of the Invader. I'd like to show you some safety features on a monster truck. We have drive shaft loops that enclose the drive shaft all the way around in case the drive shaft would break. Also has an 8-point roll cage. We have a fuel cell that we run, which is really mandatory nowadays. Our batteries are completely covered. We also have shields completely surrounding our disc brakes in case the rotor would come apart. We have a complete fire extinguisher system on board. In case there was a fire, we could press a button and it would just emit the Halon system to shut everything off. It has explosion shields around the transmission and transfer case, and it has shields around the engine to protect debris from flying out. And without the safety features, I wouldn't get in and drive the truck.
As the ground crew readies the course, we're ready for the championship monster truck finale here in Worcester, Massachusetts. And so is the driver of Taurus, Jack Willman. Obviously, in any competitive event, every monster truck driver does everything he can to win. But for 24-year-old Jack Willman, the driver of Taurus, he tries doubly hard anytime he has to run against the Barefoot Chevrolet. And Jack, that's a rivalry that's been going on for a long time.
Yeah, I guess it started between my dad and Fred, but they drag race cars together, so I follow my dad's footsteps, and I just got to be told the name, and here I am trying to do my best.
And I guess it's no secret that it's probably the most intense rivalry in the sport. I mean, there's really no love lost between the teams.
Yeah, with us just living.
And certainly the battle with the Barefoot Chevrolet brings out the most in Willman. Last year, you finished number 2 in the world. He was world champ. What is the ultimate goal for this season?
Of course, I won in the Camel Mud Monster Series, but, you know, every race I try to do my best, and I just want to keep everything together and, you know, show and shine real good every time.
But in the back of your head, will you give that extra ounce of effort anytime Fred's in the other lane?
Oh, yeah, all the time. I'm 100%, and when he's on the other side, I'm full out.
The rivalry between these two machines, as stated, is one of the most intense in all of motorsports. They may live less than a mile from each other in the small town of Granite City, Illinois, but now even 1,500 miles away from home, it's all-out war. The final round of the U.S. Omelet Association Camel Monster Truck Championship is on the line. absolutely door to door and wheel to wheel the entire course. It looked as though Fred Schaefer and Barefoot may have pulled out a matter of a 2-foot victory, but we'll have to wait to see the replay. The helmets come off after a burst of pure pressure. On the slow motion replay, indeed, by about 3 feet at the finish line, the defending world champion Fred Schaefer and Barefoot pulls out the win. You could see that Jack Willman in the other lane was giving it everything he had, another sideways run for him. But the crowd saw the huge airborne leap over the finish line by Schaefer, another nosedive in the shutdown area, but the world champ comes through. Schaefer salutes the crowd, another battle won and another notch in his pistol grip towards another world championship on the U.S. Hobart Association Camel World Championship Tour. Jack Willman out of the truck inspecting what appears to be a flat left rear tire that must have occurred when the machine went sideways on a rough landing right at the finish line. All the racing you see on Tuff Trax is sanctioned by the United States Hot Rod Association. Well, there's no question that the sport of pulling is usually renowned for its close competition. But this pull by John Powell and the Powell Trucking 4-engine Chrysler Hemi tractor made mincemeat of the field here in Landover, Maryland, literally driving away from the competition by a quarter of a track length. That is something you don't see too often in this sport, but indeed, it was an impressive display of horsepower that made a shambles of the field. Meanwhile, monster truck action was wrapping up in Worcester, Massachusetts, and there we saw another great come-from-behind win from Fred Schaefer, the defending world champ. The rivalry between you and Taurus is well known, and this has got to be doubly sweet, the fact that you've been able to knock him off so many times.
Yeah, it is. It's a tough truck, and my truck's running exceptionally real good right now, and it's looking real good for the season. And I got a lot of Chevrolet fans out there, and they got a lot of faith in me, and I'm going to try and pull her off. So I'm just going to try and hang in there. Thank you, Brett.
If this guy needs more practice, the rest of the monster truck world better look out, because he's already murdering him as it is. After a demoralizing defeat to his arch rival in the final round of the monster truck battle, Jack Willman is now concerning himself with repairing a tire that deflated in the final round. As he steps out literally from inside that, you've got to be obviously a little unhappy with the outcome.
Yeah, getting a flat and everything else and points at stake. I'm just trying to get her back going and try to be compatible.
It was as close as possible. What happened to deflate the tire?
I guess the cars are real ragged and must come down on one and just sharp edge or something, poked a hole real bad.
I know you've got a lot of work to do with a lot of races down the road. We'll let you go, but good job in the final anyway.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
And indeed, as Jack Willman prepares for the next event, so will we. On behalf of myself, Brett Kuppner, thanks for being with us.
That wraps up all the action from the Capitol Center in Landover, Maryland. I'm Chris Chapman. Good night and good trucking.